Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Songs. Today, we've got a great cast as we have for the last couple of weeks. And we have a very, very special guest who is joining us as we speak. So we're going to be talking about Celtic Frost or Celtic Frost, top 10 songs. We got Brian Slagel from Metal Blade Records, founder of Metal Blade Records. We've got Elliott Fullam from Little Punk People. We've got Steve Keeler from Rock Fantasy in Middletown, New York. And then as soon as our extra special guest turns his camera and microphone on, we will reveal who that is. So I don't know about you guys, but I had a hard time putting this list together because, man, they got so many great songs, especially on those first couple of albums. You know, it was just really, really tough. Really
I
tough.
agree. Well, you're gonna hate. I'm gonna be a purist, but everything I've got from the first two albums actually in my list.
You know what? If any of us were any different, I probably wouldn't sneeze at that at all.
those we put out those two in the U.S., so I'm a little partial to them. So yeah.
Oh, good. So we're waiting for your special. Maybe your special guest isn't showing. I'm the special guest.
He's actually logged in, and he is.
I'm the dude from Wayne's World, man.
There he is.
Hey,
Reed St. Mark, ex-drummer from Celtic Frost. There he is.
Awesome.
What's happening, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Wow, Brian Slagel, this is an absolute honor. I'm absolutely speechless. You're metal royalty.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Don't be speechless. Don't be speechless. That'll make for a very boring top 10.
Agreed.
So Steve and Reed and I have spent lots of time together over the years. I haven't seen Reed moved out of state, and I haven't seen him in a number of years, but we still keep in touch. But Reed and Steve, you guys haven't seen each other in what, about 8 years, thereabouts?
Oh, maybe more than that.
More than that?
Already.
Probably early 2000s when we used to hit some shows together, right?
Right.
In the city or up. I remember going to the Chance with you one time also.
Sure.
Yep.
Elliott, nice to meet you.
Yep. I remember going to a show in Belphegor was playing, and they were like, Reed St. Mark's here. I'm like, oh shit! Like Helmuth came over, and it's like, and came over to meet you. And I remember that moment. And I think we also did the Amon Amar thing when you did the interview with them. I think Reed may have been along with us that day too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks, Pete. Thank you so much for the invite today.
Happy to have you. I figured we couldn't do a show on this band without you. And before we get started on everybody's top 10s, Reed, settle it for once and for all. How do you say the name? Is it Celtic or Celtic, or does it not matter?
Well, is it Mare Tranquillitatis, or is it the Anglified Sea of Tranquility? It's an analogous question. When I joined the band, it was Celtic Frost. And somewhere along the way, it became a more proper Celtic Frost. However, early on, Ike Darso pronounced it Celtic Frost, which I found an anomaly, as Tom and Martin referred to it as Celtic Frost. So it has become Celtic Frost.
Okay. I happened to be watching on YouTube the other night. I saw an interview from 87 or 88 with you and Martin on Swiss TV. And the lady who was interviewing you guys asked the same question, and you basically said the exact same thing. And that was over 30 years ago.
A non-answer.
Right. But you did say, you said, I'm a New Yorker, so I say Celtic, but it doesn't really matter.
That's how it works.
All right. So how we're going to work this today, since there's a lot of this, I've also asked Reed to put together his top 10 list, but I would like Reed to go last at the end of each round, just because I think it would be kind of cool for him to hear what we all say and then to reveal his. And he and I talked on the phone the other day, and he made and I'll reveal this part of the conversation later on. And I was asking him about some of his favorite tracks, and he gave me like a pretty funny response, which I'll reiterate later. So let's have, you know what, Steve, since I've kind of slacked you a little bit in the last couple of weeks, you've always gone last. Steve is going to go first today. And then we'll go Steve, Elliott, Brian, myself, and then Reed, all right?
I was the redheaded stepchild.
I know. I apologize.
All right. Number 10, the Dethroned Emperor. I'm not going to explain too much because I know we've got a lot of people on. We've only got 40 minutes to do it. So my number 10 is Dethroned Emperor today. And then I'm sure everybody's going to add stuff to each song as it goes through anyhow.
All right, Elliot, what do you got?
Number 10 to kick things off. Bang, bang.
All right, for my number 10, I have Morbid Tales off of Morbid Tales, the self-titled. I think this is a great self-titled track, and I really like his ow that he does. And the breakdown riff is amazing, and then it goes into a very super fast, shreddy solo and kind of catches me off guard every time I listen to it.
Very cool.
I went a bit off the mark on my number 10 just because it's a really cool song, but it probably, I don't know if anybody else will pick it. Wings of Solitude from the Parched with Thirst and Dying album. I love that song.
That is a very cool pick, and I did not expect that at all. And that's why I love having Brian on the show, because he always pulls some really cool stuff out. So, all right, my number 10, I want to give some love to the Monotheists album, which is the last album that the band ever did. The song called Ground, which I think that album is really heavy and doomy and evil sounding, and I just love that kind of, oh God, why have you forsaken me? It's just so evil sounding and just absolutely crushing. So I had to give some love to that album. It was my number 10. All right, Reed, now it's up to you.
Number 10, I have Necromantical Screams, because I noticed Tom's composition started to flirt with a little bit of melody. It was very exploratory. And I found that to be a little bit odd at the time. So that's why it's number 10.
Cool.
Very good choice.
Great song. Great song. That's number 9, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. We have arrived at the dawn of Megiddo. Is it Megiddo? Off of To Megatherion. Some of these albums I just have, like, I've been so busy building my website for rockfantasy.com because we went online this week and my last couple of weeks, and I just could have, I was like, first I said I wasn't going to do this list, and then Pete kind of talked me into it, and I was like, I haven't listened to some of these albums in so long, and then of course now listening to them again and just remembering how much I listened to these albums back in the 80s and even in the 90s, and kind of, you know, now it's like so much music coming out I got to cover. I don't always go back to some of this early stuff because I'm constantly listening to new releases and stuff, but that To Megatherion album was something that I probably wore the record out back at the store back in that time period. But so Dawn of Megiddo is my number 9.
Great one.
My number 9 is Pro Guinea from Monotheist. Oh, sorry, that's my number 8. Number 9, I read that, I'm sorry. My number 9 is the Usurper from To Megatherion. I noticed that Thomas does a lot of in his songs, opposed to the ow. Very fast riffs on this song. I enjoy it a lot.
It's a great one.
Excellent.
So for my number 9, it's a bit of a story behind this kind of. So this is and again, this may or may not be something somebody else picks, but I found this really interesting. Number 1, I liked this track in the first place because I was a huge fan of the band that originally did this. This is one of the cover tunes. And when I was doing research on picking all my tracks out, I was on Spotify, and this is like one of the top played tracks on Spotify for Celtic. I'm going to say Celtic because that's what I'm used to. For Celtic Frost. So it's interesting. So it's Mexican radio, which originally was by the band Wall of Voodoo, which I was a huge fan of. When I was growing up in LA, I got to see them a lot playing the clubs, and they were super cool. And I love the fact that they did this cover. That's obviously off the Into the Pandemonium.
Yes.
I was kind of hoping that someone would pick that, because it's like, I figured someone would, and it's so like kind of off the wall, but very cool, and I like it. I like it better than the original. So.
I like the original better, but this is a great version of it.
And I remember some of the purists when I came out go, "What are they doing?"
I know, but it was fun.
What are they doing?
I'm also going to go to the Into the Pandemonium album for my number 9, Babylon Fell, which is probably the heaviest and most kind of Celtic Frost-ish song on that album, which I think's got all sorts of different flavors going on. But I just think the riffing is great on that. I love the chorus. Really cool tune, and Reed's drumming is like heavier than anything on that. So that's my choice for number 9. What do you got, Reed?
Morbid Tales, from the album Morbid Tales. The intro is very exclamatory. And as far as I know, it's the only song on the album that has any major chords in it. The funny thing was, we never performed it until the very last days I was in the band. And I said, where's this song been? So it gets my number 9.
Really? You guys never played that song early on?
Up until the very last end of the last
Wow.
show on.
That's crazy. Steve, what do you got?
I got the same song that Reed has, but mine's at number 8, not number 9. Morbid Tales from the self-titled.
Cool.
And I think Reed explained it enough, so we'll keep the ball rolling, man.
All right, Elliott, you're up.
Sorry, I spoiled my number 8 earlier, but now for my number 8 is Pro Guinea from Monotheists. I feel like this is a great song to open up Monotheists, and I really love the heaviness to it.
Yeah, I think, Elliott, for my number 10, I picked Ground, but it was between both of those songs because they're both great. I mean, that's like a great 1-2 punch to start off that album.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, Brian, back to you.
So number 8, I picked this song for a couple of reasons. Number 1, the title is amazing, but it's also a great track too. I love the riff in this track, and then just the playing in general is awesome. A dying god coming into human flesh, off of Morbid Tales.
That's a great song. Yeah,
It
such a
is.
great song.
My number 8 might be higher for some of you guys. I love it, though, but it just goes to show you how strong the catalog is early on. Circle of the Tyrants from To Megatherion, and also that was also on Emperor's Return, I believe, the EP.
Yes.
Yeah, great song. That's probably your typical Celtic Frost classic, I guess.
It is.
Reed, what do you got?
Number 8. This was hard for me. Of all the tracks in the world, the idiosyncratic Suicidal wins.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great song also.
It's just so strange and so quirky. And the up-tempo portion is, again, it didn't try to rip off, copy, emulate. It wasn't even influenced by that many bands or styles because of the odd time changes and breaks. But I have to preface this whole list. I should have prefaced it by saying I could have picked any track off of Monotheist and put it on this list. And the same with Morbid Tales. 2 albums I did not play on. And I think those are the 2 finest albums of the band. But anyway, Suicidal I have at number 8.
Cool. Back to you, Steve.
Number 7. I try to say it in a very metal way, these titles. Beyond the North Winds. Off of To Megatherion is my number 7. That's a great track. And it's one of the ones I listen to over and over again. And, you know, I listen to albums as albums. I'm an old-fashioned guy where I don't just put on songs. So, like, that whole album to me just kind of blends in together. I love that whole album. So it was hard for me to pick, like, which songs do I pick for the list. And I do that a lot with all these lists I do every Saturday, actually. When we did the Opeth one, it was the same way. How do you just pick Opeth songs? Opeth to me is an album.
I absolutely agree with you.
And Celtic Frost is a little bit like that in my book also.
I find the Morbid Tales album and the To Megatherion album very hard to kind of break apart any of the songs from either album.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Elliott, what you got? Number 7.
All right, for my number 7, I have Dawn of Megadito. I hope I pronounced that right. To Megatherion is the album. I love the horns. Whenever I hear the horns, I picture of like a cold, dark cave and like demons walking out holding torches. I also love the crazy shred solo close to the end of the song.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. Brian.
Tom wrote a lot of lyrics that get what Elliott said. You can really feel a lot of what's going on in that stuff, which is another reason why he's such a brilliant songwriter. For number 7, I always try to pick something, this is the top 10 of the whole catalog, I try to jump around a little bit, and I wanted to pick something off of Vanity/Nemesis, so I picked The Heart Beneath.
Very good.
Very cool. All right, Reed, you're up.
I have number
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I skipped myself. I do this every week. I just forget. Yeah,
Are you the host? We need to replace the host here?
I'm not paying attention. It just goes to show you I care more about your picks than mine. So my number 7, I think Elliott already picked The Usurper from To Megatherion. Great album opener. Love it. And it follows that little short instrumental, which is like so menacing and ominous and epic sounding. I think that whole album just has that feel. So, yeah. That's my number 7. All right, Reed, now back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, my list is a little bit influenced. I restricted it to tracks that I either recorded or performed or both. So that's why it's somewhat limited. At number 7, I have The Usurper. The intro is just so unapologetic. It's shameless. And the song just goes from there. That's it.
Cool. All right, Steve, back to you.
I tell you what, me and Reed are kind of linked up here because my number 6 is The Usurper.
There you go.
I've been following down the path here. It seems like number 6 is The Usurper. Yeah, I agree with some of the same points he put on that one, and that's my number 6 for today.
All right, Elliott, back to you.
My number 6, I have Nocturnal Fear off of Morbid Tales. This album to me sounds very thrashy, and this is a very thrashy song. I love the solo in this song, and also I love how they had like a little section where he had like weird sounds. I thought that was cool.
Yep, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Brian, back to you.
So, quick story, real fast. So I have to tell you the story because it relates to everything we're talking about. So, when the Hellhammer EP came out, I had not heard of it, but I saw a review of it in Kerrang, and Kerrang at that time was not the most, shall we say, trusted magazine. So they reviewed Hellhammer and said, this is the worst record that was ever recorded and released. So I immediately figured out I have to listen to this record. So I got a copy of it, thought it was amazing, and we released it in the US, and then we followed that up with the first 2 Celtic Frost albums after that. So, so much for Kerrang.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, and Hellhammer record still is so amazing. As are all this Celtic Frost stuff. Tom's a brilliant guy, and Reed obviously played some amazing stuff on there as well. So thank you guys. Anyway, for number 6, Jewel Throne from To Megatherion.
Yeah, that is how did I forget that one? Jeez.
You forgot.
So many good ones. I didn't pick Usurper. I felt bad about that too.
Yep.
They're looking for a new host. I've got Martin Landau here, Commander Cohen, base 1999. He could come on next week if you want to take a break.
Like I could use a break actually. So my number 6 title track, The Morbid Tales. Are You Morbid? Great song. Great song.
Yes, yes.
All right, Reed, back to you.
Going back to the well, Return to the Eve.
I forgot to put that on my list. I was listening to that.
Another great one, yeah.
It's got a great intro. It gets rolling, and then all of a sudden it comes to a dead stop. And then it starts the doom and gloom, and then it takes my soul away into the dark. Good God, the first time I heard that, I was never exposed to anything like that. I was like, I'm going to practice. I have to learn this. Okay, this is cool.
All right, where are we? At number 5. All right, Steve.
Number 5. From To Megatherion. This could be one of my, like, it's not my favorite, some of them, but it's definitely, I guess it's in my top 5. It could be even higher. Is the necromanical screams that Reed explained a little bit about earlier in our show. And it just it's just epic to me. And everything, how it just plods along. That was my number 5, the necromanical screams.
It's a great one.
Yeah.
My number 5 is a dying god coming into human flesh off of Monotheists. I love his voice with the clean guitars. I think it blends really well. I love it when bands do that. And then it goes into the distortion, very heavy guitar. I love it.
A lot of good variety on that album, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I think I said Morbid Tales when I picked that. He's correct. It's Monotheists. Duh. Anyway, so yeah, my number 5 is Dethroned Emperor from Morbid Tales. I think I got that one right.
That is a classic song.
So good.
All right, I'm going to stick on Morbid Tales here for a little procreation of the wicked. That riff just kills. It's got so much groove to it. I mean, Reed, that's like the grooviest riff I think that Tom ever wrote, right? It's got to be.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
Okay.
All right, I'll throw it back to Reed now.
My number 5, Into the Crypts of Rays.
Yes.
It was the first track I ever heard from the band, and it was just an onslaught. Good God. I heard a very funereal intro, and then the explosion. And I was like, oh, good. Okay, here we go. So that's when I really knew what I was in for with the band.
That's a good workout for you on that song, right?
I never experienced anything like it.
Not even all that jazz fusion stuff you were into, right? That's not quite, huh?
Well, I played my whole tenure with Celtic Frost with marching sticks, the biggest ones manufactured. So every rehearsal and performance was a workout.
Crazy. All right, where were we? Back to Steve, number 4.
Number 4, visual aggression.
Oh.
Which I think Reed had picked already in the show today. So me and Reed are kind of linked with stuff, even though I'd never played drums for Celtic Frost.
But you drank the water from the Chester Diner, as have I.
Maybe that's what happened. We ate the same slice of pizza in Poughkeepsie. From the same pizza pie, rather.
That's right. All right, Elliott, you're up.
My number 4, I have Circle of Tolerance. My favorite version of this song is 2 Megatherion, the one that's on 2 Megatherion, because I like the production the best.
Yeah.
Fun fact, little tidbit, Obituary actually covered this song on the
Yes.
very evil sounding, and I really like how they add the dark, deep evil voices here and there, and then they have the falsetto vocals that they play.
Good point. Very cool. Brian, back to you.
I'm following you, Pete. Now, my number 4 is Procreation Over the Wicked. So I'm following you now.
There you go. All right, I'm following, I think, all of you. My number 4, Necromantical Screams. I'm Temecetherian. Great song. All right, now we're into, top 3. All right, so let's see. Trying to think. I think we've mentioned so many of the great ones already, so we're probably going to hear a little bit overlap, but that's okay. Actually, Reed still got to go to his number 4. Sorry about that. Reed, go for it.
I have Jewel Throne.
Yeah.
I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed recording it. It was a challenge, and that's it.
Well, ditto. My number 3 is Jewel Throne. On the heavy metal squares today.
All right, Elliott, back to you.
My number 3 is Necromantical Screams off of 2 Megatherium. The guitar riff under the horns, they add the horns here and there on this album, but the horns and the guitar riff on this song, perfect. It's just like, yeah. And I like the high vocal parts on it as well, too.
Yep, I agree.
So before I get my number 3, I really quick have to ask Reed, why did you play with the big sticks?
Well, when I got to the rehearsal room, I had my stick bag. I had every stick size, every mallet. I didn't know what to expect. And the volume in the bunker was indescribable. It went to the marrow of my bones. I said, okay, nothing short of these big parade sticks is going to do the job with these guys.
Big songs, big band, big sticks. I got it. That's cool. I love it. My number 3, I have Circle of Tyrants from Temecetherion.
There you go. So Reed, big sticks, lady shoes. I mean, that's like the Reed St. Mark trademark back in the day, right?
The shoes, that wasn't my fault.
You sure?
Yeah, this time it wasn't my fault. Everything else bad that happened was my fault, but not the shoes wasn't my fault.
Okay.
My number 3, Dethroned Emperor. It's just a complete song. I love playing it probably more than any song. It's got the heaviness, but it's also got a groove.
Exactly.
Not a lot I can add to that.
My number 3 was Into Crypts of Rays from Morbid Tales. Back to Steve.
My number 2 was Into Crypt of Rays from Morbid Tales.
Guess what? My number 2 is Into the Crypt of Rays off of Morbid Tales.
Wow. All right, Brian, you're going to disappoint that that's not your number 2.
It is not my number 2. I'm not going to follow the crowd here.
We would have had a full swear.
Although I will say that my number 1 and 2, I debated quite a bit. But I picked this as my number 2, Morbid Tales, the title track.
Can't go wrong with that.
Amazing.
My number 2 has already been mentioned by a couple of you. The Dawn of Megiddo or Megiddo or however they say that. Great song. Absolutely epic tune, and I love the horns in it and the doomy riffs and just got this vibe that I just the whole album. But That's my favorite from that album. All right, Reed, number 2, what you got?
Circle of the Tyrants. To me, that was the apotheosis of my experience with the band, writing the material. Tom wrote the material, but I had to create the drum parts around it. But I really felt I was part of the creative process in the rehearsal room. And it really made me feel a part of the band, that particular song. And I just think it's a strong tune. Again, not a lot to say about it. It speaks for itself.
Reed, we're just following each other around. Not my number 1. I'm at my number 1 now, and it's Circle of the Tyrants. That's my go-to if I was going to listen to what I think of Celtic Frost, because like I said, I really, unfortunately, haven't listened to them a lot in probably the last 10 years or so. I've kind of, that just kind of slips off the radar. And if someone was to say, "What's your favorite Celtic Frost song?" I would pop in my head. I think that's the strongest song by them. That's why it made my number 1.
There you go. Elliott, what do you got?
My number 1, I have Oz Abysmi Vel Death off the Monotheists album.
Oh.
For me, when I listen to that song, that's as evil as it can get. I love it. The certain parts when he sings on this album where he sounds like he's dying when he's singing. And on this specific song has a lot of that. And I deny my own desire. It always gets stuck in my head whenever I listen to it. I deny my own desire. And there's a certain part in that song where it just sounds like you're falling in like a deep, dark void, never-ending void. And I love it.
How cool is it that the youngest one in this crew chooses one of the most evil songs in the catalog as number 1?
Right.
I mean, he does do horror movies,
That's right. That's right.
He does look innocent and nice. He has a decapitated clown head right next to him. You can see it.
That's the movie I'm in.
Right.
I know it is. I know.
Terrifier is amazing. Well, the first one is. Hopefully the second one. Second one, I'm sure, will be just as good. Those guys are awesome.
I think it's gonna be better.
And Elliott, well, of course, because you're in. I like that you went off. I like that you went off the charts. That's good. Off the chart. That's good. So for my number 1, I like I said, I was kind of debating between Morbid Tales and this song, but I kind of come back, at least for me, and obviously I was around. All of us except for one of us was around when the record first came out. But this song to me just kind of embodies what the band was all about. So I picked Into the Crypt of Rays as my number 1.
Nice.
So I am shocked that nobody here picked anything off of Cold Lake.
I forgot.
That was a joke, guys.
I kind of wanted to, but it would have been tough.
Yeah. My number 1, Dethroned Emperor from Morbid Tales.
Cool.
Great song. All right, Reed, you're the last one. What is your number 1 tune?
Yeah, that could have easily have been my number 1, but it's Procreation, because it's a funeral dirge and the notes start to bend, and it's just a little bit reminiscent of Sabbath with the notes bending, and Procreation really represented a lot what the band was for me.
Cool. Very cool. Well, we have some time left, so anybody got questions for Reed? Because he's probably got all sorts of cool stuff about the band that he could reveal, divulge.
Easy.
Now, I'll go at once now. Who's got a question? I don't know. I don't have anything right now I can think of. But
I got a question. I've and Reed and I have known each other a long time, and we've talked about all this sort of stuff before. But there was a time in the 90s where you guys kind of got back together to work on another album together. Could you talk a little bit about that period and kind of what happened there or what didn't happen there?
Oh, that was a splendid experience. Tom was living in San Antonio, as was Kurt, and they were doing some pre-production for which album I wasn't sure. And they invited me down for 5 weeks to do some recording and writing, and I was staying with Tom, and we had one of the best times I ever had in my life, those 5 weeks. And we just laid down some basic scratch tracks, and not too much developed after that for some reason. I don't know what happened. I think between Tom relocating back to Zurich and I wasn't sure there was so many changes in the dynamics. So
it happens. I do want to tell a quick little story. So when Reed and I first met, Reed, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2004, 2005, something like that, right? Right around that time period. So as it turns out, Reed and I both were members of the same gym. We both lived in the same town. We didn't know each other. And one day I'm there working out and I look over and I see this trainer and I'm like, wait a second, he looks awfully familiar. And I'm like, holy shit, that's Reed from Celtic Frost. So I go walk up to him and I'm like, you're Reed St. Mark, aren't you? And you were like shocked that someone knew you. And you're like, yes, I am. And anyway, we became fast friends. So then I, told Reed kind of what I did. At the time, I just had the Sea of Tranquility webzine. And I said, you know what? I said, I've actually reached out to Tom for an interview. And I asked Reed, I said, how long has it been since you guys have spoken? And he's like, oh, it's been a long time. I was like, shit. I said, why don't you come over to my house for the interview? And I'm not going to tell Tom that I got you with me. And we got Tom on the phone and we started talking. I said, Tom, I got someone here that you might remember. And then Reed jumped in and started talking. And Tom was like, no effing way. He goes, is that you? And it was. So the two of them started talking, and then that was right before the tour, the Monotheists tour. And then we all wound up going together and meeting up with Tom, and it was like a very, very cool, and Martin. It was a very, very cool moment that I'll always remember. And just kind of getting you guys back together after so many years, and to see like the joy on your faces to be kind of like back together again and talking and reminiscing and all that kind of stuff. And this
that's a great story.
Yeah, and there's pictures on the internet you can find from the BB King show. It was awesome.
Was it BB King's is where you went? Okay, because I remember seeing Celtic Frost at the Chance, and I wasn't sure if Reed was with us then or not. I remember All Out War opening up for them. It was like Celtic Frost and All Out War, if you remember that show.
I have two quick. Oh, sorry.
Go, please.
Oh, I have two quick questions. What would your own vision of hell look like? And if your music can heal one thing on this planet, what would you want it to heal?
Hell to me, it would look like the Department of Motor Vehicles. If it could change one thing, metal in particular, did you say, or music?
If your music can heal one thing on this planet, what would you want it to heal?
Arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you didn't say coronavirus.
That would have been too easy, right?
That's a good one.
Viruses come and go, but arrogance sometimes, it just sort of, music goes inside. Music is cyclical. And just when you get comfortable and you're amazed with the next thing, the next shiny thing comes along. And so I think humility is missing a lot and music is a small segment of that in society, but I think arrogance is a big problem.
I agree. I think that's a great answer. I do think we're fairly lucky in our little world where we don't see as much of that, but on a wide level, absolutely. I have a quick question. I got to know the answer, but I think the story is really interesting. So obviously, you guys use H.R. Giger covers, which, one of the most famous artists of all time. How did that come about?
What a coincidence. For the record, Tom and Martin secured the artwork before I met them. But ironically, at the same period of time, I was living with Mia Giger, Hans Rudy's ex-wife.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was interesting when I joined the band, how everything sort of converged.
Yeah.
But there was a little bit of concern that I was an inroad. Only a few people thought that, but I had to clear the record quickly that they had secured that artwork before I was even in the project.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Crazy. Small world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the countdown is under 3 minutes now.
There we go. Elliot, you got a couple things you want to show there, don't you?
Yes, I do. I have two reaction figures that I got from Steve Keeler at his Rock Fantasy website. I got this Slayer.
Black Metal Slayer. Show mercy. Black Magic, and King Diamond Top Hat.
Yeah.
And I've got the brand new Anthrax toy.
Nice.
Shout out to my good friend Brian Liu, who's the one that made all that stuff happen.
Oh, really? Cool.
Old school metal guy from the Bay Area. And he works now at was it
Super
7?
Yeah, I actually have met them at Toy Fair in New York City. They're great guys to chat with. And
Yeah,
I
and
love
who's the Funkos that Elliott's got? I see Kerry King and Eddie. Who's the third one? Ozzy?
No, that is Tamaraya.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
you just got them from me also, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't look anything like him, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm not a big pop guy, but I do like the Iron Maiden ones. To me, they look like Eddie more than like the pops all kind of look, to me, they're a little generic. But,
I think the Eddie ones are like some of the most detailed pop figures.
oh, that's what I mean. The details are great on the, and I just got these in the shop. We're doing a commercial, I guess, now. The 4-box one.
Uh-oh. I haven't seen that yet.
They didn't make many of them. They were an Alliance exclusive, and I got 3 of them. I'm keeping one, and I think they're $59.99.
Cool.
Let me know. I'll PayPal you.
You want one? Your Scorpion shirt's on the way.
All right, thanks.
There you go. Well, we're almost out of time, so I want to thank everybody here. Elliott, Brian, Reed, Steve, thanks for joining us on this Celtic Frost Countdown. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. We'll see you guys again next Saturday. Got a little Slayer coming up, right?
Yeah.
All right, so there we have it. So everybody be safe, be well.
Yeah.
Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, and for those here in the States, otherwise everybody else, take care, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
Is someone from Slayer going to be here next week?
We'll see.
I can try to see if we can get Kerry to pop in. I don't know.
I'm actually going to work on my, do a little YouTube presence with Rock Fantasy with the website. I thought it was long overdue. I talked to Pete the other day, and I'm actually going to do a little something with my show, little show, and like promoting what new releases, and I think we're going to chat with Will Carroll this week. Which I
Are we doing albums or songs?
Albums.
2 quick words for you guys. Just 2